is a serious situation, and we need to all work together in order to make sure we're doing everything we possibly can to address this. And I think we learned some very important things today from a panel of great experts, including those from USF St. Pete. And I think that part of the message is better monitoring is going to help us address this going forward. No question about that. Secondarily, what I heard is the fact that, you know, if we can stop polluting our water, and I think Senator Nelson put it very well, that what you have is red tide, which is naturally formed and creates itself almost every year. But this year we have the compounding effect of the green-blue algae bloom that's coming primarily out of Lake Okeechobee on both sides of the state through the Caloosahatchee River and the St. Lucie River. And so when you have those things coming together, it just exacerbates what we're dealing with. But what encourages me is the fact that we have so many experts throughout the state of Florida and beyond that are addressing this issue, concerned about this issue, and focused on it. And the final part that I heard, with some additional funding that we can provide to NOAA and other agencies in order to better monitor what's happening and get some changes in how we address the flow of water out of Lake Okeechobee and into the Everglades. We have an opportunity to address this, to address climate change. I will say it, it's important. And I think, you know, again, something that Senator Nelson and Congresswoman Castor recognize is that this recent hurricane that we had that formed as a tropical storm came into the warm waters of the Gulf of Mexico quickly, became almost a Cat 5 hurricane because of heat. So it's here, it's real, we need to address it, and with that I'd like to turn it over to my wonderful colleague, Kathy.
Thank you. Well, it was a pleasure to join with my partners, Congressman Charlie Crist and Senator Bill Nelson, in developing an action plan for us to tackle red tide. We heard from some fantastic scientists here from the University of South Florida, College of Marine Science, College of Public Health, and business owners. And their testimony today about the impact of red tide on their family-owned business is pretty tough. But what I know is that we're a resilient community. But it takes more than resilience these days in Washington. It takes folks that are devoted to clean water, that can stand up to the special interest and the polluters and say no. Our quality of life here in the state of Florida relies on clean water and clean beaches. And you cannot undermine water quality standards and continue to put pollution in our bays and our waterways and in our beautiful Gulf of Mexico and not have us pay the price. So we're going to stand tough on this, and we're going to stand up to those special interests that continue to whittle away at the budgets for the Environmental Protection Commission, the water quality standards, to NASA, to NOAA. We believe in science. And the other takeaway is the planet is getting warmer. And Florida is in the crosshairs if we do not reduce carbon pollution in the atmosphere that is warming the Gulf of Mexico and our oceans. And we can do this. We're the sunshine state. There's no reason not to turn to more renewable energy and clean energy and away from fossil fuels. Otherwise, citizens across the state of Florida are going to pay the cost. But we have an action plan to tackle that. And I want to thank Charlie Crist and Senator Bill Nelson for being outstanding partners in standing up for Floridians. Senator?
You don't have to be a scientist to know that the earth is heating up. And as a result, the seas are rising, and we are getting the results right here since Florida is ground zero. You don't have to be a scientist to understand that our waterways are growing this green-blue algae gunk because we are allowing pollutants to go into our waters. And you don't have to be a scientist to look at the cause and effect that the state of Florida has in fact dismantled the environmental agencies and starved them of funds, even passing a law that stopped the periodic inspections of leaking septic tanks. You put all that together and you get a toxic brew that is affecting us on our fresh waters and an explosion of red tide that is in our salt waters. And as a result, we, the people, and our businesses and our economy are suffering. And who knows what the health effects. Fortunately, we've got health agencies, including the CDC in Atlanta, doing those health studies right now between the red tide and the algae, as well as people's health.